Okay, this is a demo on how to utilize your screen, which already has the stencil applied onto it, to make a print. And then you can kind of repeat this process and print your stencil several times over across a piece of paper or fabric if you choose. So the first thing I'm going to do is take my screen and I'm going to clamp it onto my printing station. If there are no printing stations available, you can just print right at your seat. That's not a problem. These clamps kind of act as your third hand so that you can raise it up and then let it sit there while you change your paper, etc., etc. Okay, I'm going to take fabric ink. You can mix your own colors if you choose. I do have containers here in which you can mix your own colors in, or you can use it straight out of the jar. So this is screen printing ink. This one is particularly made for fabric, so if you want to print on fabric and heat set it with an iron, you would then be able to wash the fabric. So since we're just doing it on paper, this ink will work on paper just as well, but if you want to do it on fabric, you can talk to me about that at some point. Okay, we're going to take some ink. We need a thick worm of ink above our design. So I'm going to take some ink out of the jar with a plastic knife and I'm going to spread it above the design. If my design fills this whole screen, I'm going to need ink all the way across. So a thick worm of ink all the way across. Since this is a small stencil here, I only need it right above the open area of the stencil. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my paper that I'm working on. So this is a couple stencils that have been repeated throughout the day. And I'm going to lift my screen and put my stencil underneath. So or my paper underneath. So let's print him over here. Okay. So paper underneath, stencil and screen on top. Then I'm going to take my squeegee, okay, and I'm going to pull the ink through the open area of the screen. When I do that, when I pull the ink through and flood the screen, I don't want to hold my squeegee too vertical, too low. I want to just hold it, angle it just slightly, like just a little bit. And when I pull, I want to have a lot of pressure so that I can hear a good swiping sound on the screen. So I'm going to kind of line myself up, angle a little bit, and pull. When I get to this side, I want to tap off the ink, flip my squeegee around, and push it back up. At this point, I could take my knife and put the ink back onto the screen, or if I am done, I would take this ink off and put it back into the jar. You want to have a brick handy so that you can rest your squeegee and your knife on the bricks. That's what those are for. All right, and I'm going to lift my screen and see if the stencil came out. Okay, so it did bleed a little bit here and along here. So what that probably means is that the stencil is not adhered well to the screen, and I can see a couple bubbles here. So it's really beneficial to check your screen and your stencil ahead of time and smooth out any bubbles that may have been caused from the washing of the screen previously. So check out your screen, check out your stencil, make sure it's good to go. Another thing that you could do is also just do a test print on a piece of paper, check it before working onto your composition. Okay, cleaning the screen. Please be sure that you are not leaving this screen sit here for too long, because if the ink dries in this open area of the screen, it's going to dry into the mesh and ruin the screen. So you want to be really conscientious of your work time and take this right to the sink to wash it up. When you are washing this screen, make sure that you are just using your fingers and getting all of the ink out of both sides of the screen. Don't use any paper towels. The paper towels will actually get stuck in the mesh and ruin the screen as well. So do a really good job washing this up with fingers and just water. You should be totally fine, and leave it over in Mr. Williams' room to dry. Reach out to a peer if you have any questions. There's plenty of people who know what they're doing. And if you have any major concerns, you can also reach out to me. All right, thank you.